The Jenn Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, is an inspirational hour that'll take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jenn Royster is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Imagine having the ability to use your innate positive energy to dissolve the stuckness in your life, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, through this incredible dynamic show. Get ready to be transformed from Dr. Jenn's live guided healing meditations and intuitive readings, and unveil the power of connecting to spirit, the angels, and your higher self. Dr. Jenn is passionate about helping you find the answers you're looking for through an inward journey that'll strengthen your connection to spirit and help you trust your intuition. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jenn Royster.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Jenn, and today we're going to work with Archangel Gabriel, the angel known as the angel of communications, creativity, seeing things from a different perspective, and just a good all-around eye-opener, seeing from the bigger picture, things like that. This angel is very much about communications, and we're going to specifically look at how Archangel Gabriel can help us deal with Mercury retrogrades. We get several Mercury retrogrades come in several times a year. So we have one coming up soon, and this was a great opportunity to just focus on Mercury retrogrades and Archangel Michael and how that works. Because Mercury is the planet of communications, makes sense, logical sense, that you would work with Archangel Gabriel, the angel of communications. Because sometimes Mercury retrogrades can be challenging. Sometimes we feel like there's miscommunication, things like that. This is just a great time to go through how this angel can work with us. So that's what we're focusing on today. Now, if this angel can bring in a different perspective, sometimes that's all we need to just see things differently so we can go, oh, okay, now I get it. Because if we're always just approaching life from the same way all the time, we're going to get the same result, right? So when we can take ourselves out of that box and see things differently, maybe from a bigger picture, maybe just from a completely different perspective that we never thought of before, it can make a lot of sense. Mercury retrogrades being challenging because communications seem to just slow down or misfire, things like that. Technology, we hear all the time about, and you hear that a lot about Mercury retrogrades, that, okay, now the technology or the communications or the electronics aren't working right, things like that. But there's also this wonderful silver lining that comes with a retrograde. Retrogrades in any planet mean it slows down moving forward with that energy, and it takes us back into a reflective mode, to review, to go over what we have done, what we have chosen, how we're doing things. It takes us inward to see things differently, and also to truly, have you ever noticed there's this encouragement to go inward and listen to the inner voice more all the time? It's always been there, but taking the time to listen to it can be one of the most important choices we ever make moving forward in a spiritual growth. Now, if you think about that perspective of your inward journey, your inner voice, if we're just go all the time, we never stop and we never have time. The universe gives us these opportunities when we are moving into retrogrades. And it just depends on the planet. So this one in particular is about Mercury retrograde, which is about the communications. And if you find that you're moving into this place where you're reflecting on how you communicate, how you listen, if you're misunderstanding, if there seems to be, oh wait, they didn't understand what I meant, things like that, it helps us reflect on, is there something we could do better? And it's not, looking outside of ourselves to blame it on anybody. It's more like, how can we improve our communications in business, in personal relationships, and the relationship with your inner voice, yourself? Do we take ourselves seriously? Do we listen to that inner voice? You see, this is all part of a Mercury retrograde giving us this opportunity to make things better. And then it lasts about 3 weeks or so, and then it moves forward again. So, and it happens several times a year. This is going to be the third one coming up. So if you were to look at it this way, if you're in the flow with Mercury retrograde energy and you actually take that opportunity to listen, you could ask yourself, your inner voice, what message do you have for me right now? What do I need to know? What do I need to know right now? Because your inner voice is the most valuable voice you want to listen to. It's you. It's connected with the soul. It's connected with, your higher self. It's the one you can trust out of all things. Not just take my word for it, but trusting what comes from within you for the answers that you're looking for. It has all the answers. But we don't trust that. We want to feel reassured. That right there is ego trying to, we find like, oh, I don't know, I don't trust. That's just no confidence in your inner voice. That's no confidence within yourself. And we all go through this. And when I say no confidence, I mean it could be that it's improving. It could be you're second guessing yourself, and we go and we flux in and out of it all the time. It's just part of what we're learning while we're here on Earth. And I find that the more you work with that inner voice, the more that you trust it, the more peace and freedom you will find. That just feeling and that sigh of relief, like, yeah, that's the right choice for me. That's probably one of the most valuable things you can learn in your life's journey. So, now that we have this Mercury retrograde coming up, it's the third one of the year so far. It starts on September 9th. So that's next week. It starts on September 9th and will go till October 2nd. So for those 3 weeks, that's when we want to pull back. And a retrograde, also, whichever planet it might be, it feels like we're slowing down. It's like, oh, I'm going, and then it slows us down. It slows us down so we can stop and think and reflect and make sure we're going in the direction we want to go. These are the silver linings that I want you to hear about. This is the aspects of these retrogrades that can be very beneficial. Working with Archangel Gabriel in times like this can truly help us to remember that. It's not always about everything going wrong. Yeah, there's going to be things that happen. Computers go goofy, a phone doesn't act right, we have misunderstandings among each other, things like that. It gives us that time and that opportunity to see things from other perspectives, so we can go, oh, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't realize when I said so-and-so that would come across that way. Or maybe you are misunderstanding. And what I find with things that we misunderstand about others is we're assuming, or maybe we just feel like we're always being attacked, or maybe we always feel like, they're being critical. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But remember, that's their opinion, and what they have going on has nothing to do with you, because you want to trust how you feel about it. And if we were to make our entire lives contingent, which we do, it happens, on what is the opinion of everyone else about what you should or shouldn't be doing, what a stressful life that is. Now that, to me, is not freedom of living. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But as I study spirituality, that's what I do in the show. I'm very metaphysical. I have this connection. I share my experiences and what I'm figuring out. And you can take it or leave it. It may or may not fit for you. I'm good with that. I'm sharing what I know to be working for me. And hopefully, even if it's not exactly the same thing, it may help you with a stepping stone to find what does work for you. And that's my intention, truly. So if you were looking at this, it's like, how do these things happen. I mean, how does this, and sometimes, you know, everything can be going great and then it just goes off and derails. That's life. But when we look for the lesson or what we can learn from it to find a way to improve, that's what you want to look for in the silver lining. There's always something. When we look at life with the challenges, it's how we respond to them versus maybe the way we always responded before, just, you know, that's not working anymore. But when we find ways to look at that and go, okay, that didn't quite go as planned, but let me see what I can learn from that, and maybe I can do better next time. That's a goal. That's a good, positive way to look at things when life is challenging. And it can be. I mean, there's challenges all the time. All of us go through some that are the same, and all of us go through some that are very different from one another. So we're all going to have this different angle or perspective on something. And I find that to be very interesting. I've noticed, and I've studied and read, researched things where when you have a group of people, and you can relate to this with just, you know, groups of people, whether it's family, friends you've known since you were a child, and you guys might be sitting around hanging out and you're reflecting back on, remember that time when blah blah, you know, when you were 10 years old. Everybody remembered something different about the event. It's the same event, but everybody had different memories about it. Different perspectives, different angles. That's a great way to explain what I'm saying. We all find that we see things maybe slightly different. We open our awareness to the collective, to the whole, to all, the way we're all connected when we open up and we expand to see the bigger picture from many perspectives. It helps us find compassion where maybe we didn't experience it the same way as someone else. And maybe we don't relate the same way, but we can have compassion and patience and have space for someone feeling it a different way. That's growth. That's growth as a collective, as humanity grows. And I believe in humanity grows. There's challenges. There's things that, you know, and there's people that are going to choose, nope, not for me this time, you know, and that's okay. That's their choices. We can only choose for ourselves. That's where we have the power to find our freedom. So, it used to be when you first heard about Mercury retrogrades, you're like, oh no, not one of those. Yeah, it's true. If you're looking to make major decisions, maybe wait till it's moving direct again. Don't do it during a retrograde, Mercury retrograde, because it could be, if there's a possibility of a misunderstanding in the contract, don't sign a contract. Don't, you know, that's logical. Don't do final decisions during it. Use it as time to reflect and deepen your understanding and clarity about something. And then make a decision afterwards. If you're like, okay, yeah, all right, that gave me time. It's good. That's a good way to look at it. It's not like, oh no, it's a bad time for everything. And if you have, don't panic. If, you know, sometimes there's the inevitable where you have to make decisions during things like that. But it's just, you're living in the moment and you're putting that intention out. And Gabriel, like I said, Archangel Gabriel is perfect for this. So say you find yourself in a situation like, all right, the way I understand it is don't sign anything or make any final decisions during retrograde, right? Well, what if you have to? That happens. I've had to. Ask Archangel Gabriel to give you clarity and a bigger picture so you see where you're going with it. And don't panic about it. Do what you've got to do. So a lot of times people just kind of pull all this anxiety out, and no, you don't have to do that. Sometimes we're just meant to make that decision then. So this isn't a right or wrong here. It's just more of a guideline. And nobody's cookie cutter here. We want to be flexible with it. And we want to go with the flow of how this Mercury retrograde is working and affecting us in our lives with the choices we have to make for ourselves. So now it's going, so in this first part, as it goes into retrograde, it's going to start in Libra. And that means it might bring up themes of how you relate in relationships, how you're connecting with others, how are you paying attention to what you're doing, okay? And then as it comes out, it goes more into it goes back into Virgo, which is more about noticing your work, personal life balance, your health, your self-care. So it's going to start out with how we're relating to others, and then it goes back into, all right, what about yourself? So that's an interesting way that tweaks there. So it will help you unravel that. So as it goes into the relating to other relationships, and then ends up in that last half of it more about self-care, balance, workflow, life, personal life, things like that. Okay, so before I keep going, I did want to bring up, I always make the affirmations for each topic, and so the affirmation for this particular topic, which will be great while we're going through Mercury retrograde with Archangel Gabriel is the way I'm looking at it, is I trust my inner voice to see fresh, new perspectives and clarity in making life choices that support my well-being. It's written in the show topic description. It'll be on the blog on my website. It's under the show page on my website if you're looking for that. It's on the YouTube channel description if you're looking to grab that. But that's a really good affirmation for working with this energy in the next few weeks. So as we're going through this and it's unraveling these different themes we're noticing, it can bring this, it brings a rhythm. Because Mercury is the planet of communications and it's working with how we connect, it's also about the mind. It's about the mental. I mean, Mercury in astrology and, myth and things like that, is considered the messenger of the gods. Ancient astrologers, they believed when it was in retrograde, it would slip into the underworld, which is like the shadow side or the inner world, things like that. And it brings a heightening up to the subconscious level. So it's about the mind and your intuition as well. You're communicating. I mean, intuition is communication with higher realms and, a sense of what's going on. Using that intuition is connected with the inner voice, listening to it, okay? Your mind, your subconscious, your thoughts, that brings things up to the surface that might have been forgotten, might have been lost in the translation somewhere, so to speak. And it brings it up to get for a reevaluation so you can make a better choice, a better understanding, a better clarity, a better awareness and comprehension of what was going on. So it's a time when the energy shifts to an inward state, like I said. So if you allow yourself to go within and listen to that inner world, that inner voice, this encourages us to reflect back on what happened before and how we made choices before proceeding ahead in the next few weeks after it goes direct. So with Gabriel being part of this, it just makes sense. If you find that you're like, I don't know what's going on with that misunderstanding, Gabriel is a wonderful angel to ask for assistance. Like, Gabriel, help me see another perspective. I don't understand where my friend is coming from. Help me understand that perspective or that viewpoint. Help me understand why this is upsetting me. Or, just all different kinds of angles you could go with that. And then just let that energy and that essence of that angel's energy just come through. I mean, when we're working with an angel's energy, if he's about communications, he, she, genderless, remember, and we're working with technology and thoughts, and this planet is also the planet of thoughts, technology, communication, travel, delays, indecision, mishaps, miscommunications. You see, there's the one side then the other side. So it brings all these things up, okay? And then we're hearing, okay, Gabriel, so you're not going to be alone in it. It's more using this time for the learning curve, okay? If we focus on, okay, going into retrograde, instead of worrying about what's going to go wrong, that's focusing on things that haven't happened yet or might happen, whatever. And you go back and you go, okay, Gabriel, let's do this together, and what can I learn during this 3 weeks? You might pleasantly surprise yourself if you actually gave your inner voice a listen. It's really worth it. It's really, really worth it. So you're looking to ask, what messages could I find in this? What messages? So you're asking that, you know, the inner voice, you're going, all right, messages, communications, whatever, all this crazy. What am I dealing with here? So when you're dealing with the energy of Mercury retrograde, Archangel Gabriel is your go-to for that. And your guardian angel, of course, is always there. It does, when the energy's shifting internally, and if you feel like, oh, that's just weird for me to go inward. Some people it's easier. Some people have been doing it for a while. Some people are just starting that. Doesn't matter where you are on that journey. It's really just going in with the intention to learn something. It could be something simple as, oh my gosh, I never knew. Okay, seriously, I never knew you could do something as simple as this way or whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. It could be simple. It could be, oh, I didn't realize I could do it a different way and it would be better. I mean, just look at what you can learn from it is really the key here. Instead of everything that could go wrong and life's beating you up, because it's very easy to go into a negative mindset and pull yourself down and then start berating yourself like I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. That's what we want to work and practice to stop doing to ourselves. We want to treat ourselves better than that because we deserve that. That's where you've got Virgo energy coming in during this retrograde as well. So remember, we're starting with a Libra energy that's taking us to how are we relating or understanding or listening outside of ourselves in relationships. And then it takes you into how am I taking care of myself and how am I balanced? So see, all of these are going to be addressed. So here you have, once the cycle ends, after you go through the few weeks, and you allow it to just show you what you need to know. You want to pay attention to dreams, by the way, with this as well. Sometimes the dreams can just be the strangest things. Just jot down the odd things and just pay attention and take notes a little bit. Some of us will find answers that way more. Some will find them in, you know, just depends on how you relate with the universe and other dimensions. You have power animals out there. Usually they come in really strong for me as well. You have nature that will communicate. It just happens. So here's an example that kind of, I don't know if I've told you about this. I may have a few weeks ago. This happened a couple of weeks ago. This is the weirdest thing that ever happened, but this is what I'm talking about. I work with nature plants. I love it. And here's an example of just something off the cuff that happened and I knew what it was. I do outdoor gardening. You know, I love that. We love growing organic vegetables and things like that, herbs, salad. I have indoor hydroponic organic gardening too for my herbs and salad greens because we love to eat fresh salads and stuff. And we're all plant-based, so we do a lot of vegetables. And these tanks, you know, every once a week I'm filling them and I'm cleaning them and I'm taking care of the plants, and I always go in and I talk to them and then I say goodnight to them when we're closing up. And in the middle of the night, like it was about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I popped up and it was the weirdest. It felt like a dream, but then it felt like a message. And all I could hear was the plants were screaming at me from the hydroponics saying, "We need water now." I'm thinking, okay, that was weird because that was on my list that day to fill the tanks, clean them, replace, put nutrients in, all that good stuff. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's like, all right, I'll get to that when I wake up. And I go back to sleep. And then around 6 a.m., I'm sorry, it comes on at 6 a.m., it has an automatic water that comes on. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing this horrible, horrible noise. And it was the pump running dry with no water in it. And I knew immediately it was trying to tell me before that happened, because that can burn your pump up. So I'm rushing to get the water in there and everything's okay. But that's an example, okay, that's a personal thing that happened with me. That's an example of how your intuition can work. That's an example of how it might start to heighten and improve, because I think that's happening for everyone. As we have a 5D world that's available to us right now, it's our choice to live in a fifth dimensional mindset and frequency level, okay? So it's more of the intention to live in it. You can stay in 3D if you want. I don't particularly want to. So you find that you go back and forth a lot, okay? And I can always tell if something has upset me or bothered me or troubled me or tries to bring in fear, I know I'm in 3D. And I go, you know what? And the more I practice that, the better. And Gabriel taught me this, actually. Gabriel and Michael together. When I feel that, I go, you know what? That's 3D. I don't want to be in 3D. So how would I be about this situation? How would I feel if I was in 5D? And immediately, it would just take me back. So now I practice that more and more, and I find myself less in that than I do. You still will find that you go back and forth, because whatever level you are on in a frequency, you are at that one and below. You can go back and forth. You can't go any higher than where you are on your growth, but you can keep going higher, and then whatever level you end up at, you can go anywhere from that one down, up and down, up and down, is a way to explain those frequencies. They're explained in Law of Attraction, very similar. Negative mindsets, negative energy, thinking would be guilt, or things like that. That's pretty low. And then you have your other ones that are higher frequency, positive. And so whenever I find that it's something I always recommend, if you ever find that you're having a day where you feel down or bummed out and you just feel not happy or up, you feel like you're just down in the dumps, you look for something to just make you laugh and be silly. Anything. Gosh, just listening to a baby laugh can do that. Anything that can make you laugh. It might be you need to watch a funny movie. You might need to just go out and get your mind off things. Anything like that. Laughter, have some fun. Just take a break and have some fun. Do something. That will lift your frequency almost immediately and help you, give you a little boost. It's like a boost. It's a vibrational boost, and it works. So it doesn't have to be spiritual. It could just be, something silly. Anything just lifts you. So for me, the best thing for me is to just get my mind on something that I do like and enjoy, and it just takes a break and it helps me get there. Then I can go back and I feel better, and I'm at a higher frequency to deal with it. So all of these things are perspectives. And I went into that because that's how intuition can come in strong here, which is your inner voice. That's your inner voice. Your inner voice and intuition. It's the voice of intuition. It's the voice of your soul. It's the voice of who you really are. It's your higher self. So you want to listen to that. Why wouldn't you want to listen to that? And of course we all say, well, of course I want to listen to it. But then do we? And you'll find that you go back and forth when you're first learning this. You're going to do that all the time. You still do, even after you've been in it for 20, 30 years. Nothing's perfect. This entire lifetime is a constant journey. It always evolves. It always goes. So let's look a little bit at where we have a little bit more focus on this retrograde that we have getting ready to come up. So as the retrograde aligns with the sun, that's considered to be like reborn. That's like a reborn of it. It goes to gain clarity, to find the wisdom, the messages that Mercury has been trying to deliver. And that's when it aligns with the sun. So that's when it ends, usually when it ends. So that's when it starts to go direct again. So in this particular retrograde, Mercury aligning with the sun will be on September 22nd. And then it rolls, and then it's all the way direct by October 2nd. So September 22nd is an illuminating day when you'll start to look for the messages that it's been trying to show you during the retrograde. Pay attention to anything the universe sends. Like I said, in dreams, strange things like your plants telling you they need water, okay? Just an example, okay? Anything. An interesting visitor from nature, you know, unusual things. You're looking for those things that drop in, like, wow, that was weird, that was different. Just look and say, hey, is there a message in that? Some will think, some of them will come right to you, and then some won't. Just make a note of it and keep moving on. You don't have to put it all together right there. It's like little pieces, little nuggets of love from the universe just drop all over the place and land in our laps, and sometimes we just brush it off like crumbs and don't pay attention. And I'm thinking, if we were just pay more attention to those things, intuition would be a lot easier for everyone. And so it's just something to practice. So Mercury retrograde, that's from September 9th to October 2nd. This is falling and begins, it also happens, it's like one day before the Pisces full moon, okay? So that Pisces energy is like a flow, and you know, it moves, and it's like, it's flowing in and out. It's like music. It's, you know, it's formless. It kind of just floats, and it doesn't have boundaries, so to speak. So Pisces energy can feel very spiritual, and you can float and get into those ethers, and at the same time it can activate all your emotions and you can feel those, but it also vibrates, and it can be very healing and heightening your intuition abilities. At the same time, you want to make sure you're reminding yourself to stay grounded with your self-care and balance. So as it's flowing with the Pisces full moon, you want to feel the energy of where could this energy help me in flow? Where could this help me with what I need? And then as it moves, you might find that Mercury retrograde is a scattery mind. So that's where you want to go, okay, I'm drawing inward, I'm going to ground because I'm feeling a little that way. And it can happen. You can feel a little foggy or mind scatter. And that's where you want to find that you are grounding. You might find that Pisces full moon can kind of feel like that, especially when you're not used to that type of energy, especially in, you know, spiritual awakenings, and you're really starting to find that you're going into these other places of dimension and energy, and you're like, whoa, it's new. It's like learning how to do something brand new. The biggest thing you want to keep reminding yourself is, okay, ground, I'm grounded, I'm good. And don't panic, just realize that would be a good time to not make big important decisions if you feel a little ungrounded, or you're all over the place, uncertain, unconfident, not sure how to proceed. That's the whole point of it. It's really putting an enhanced view of the retrogrades, wanting you to evaluate a little bit more. So the Pisces moon being in there like that, it's like, okay, you need to know where you're going, and you're not sure right now, so let's pull back. It's trying to encourage that inward, is the way I'm seeing that. So if that's resonating with you, you can find the flow of asking Gabriel to just, hey, you know, I feel like I'm navigating in a floaty state. Just pull back and say, hey, you know what? I want to ground. I want to see perspectives, but I also want to make sure I'm taking good care of myself in a balanced way. You just put that intention out there, and just know that it's going to show you what you need to do. Take little breaks. Make sure you do something physical when you feel real floaty like that. Just doing something in the physical world can bring it back. Remember, a simple, quick way to ground yourself is, say if you're at work, or you know, you just need to do it quickly. You're driving, feel the bottom of your feet in your shoe, on the floor, on the ground. Just that pulls you back right in, right away. And that's something you always, hopefully, you always have with you. And, and that's just a quick way to get back in there like that. So as it moves through Libra, this is where it'll highlight the relationships. That's at the beginning, remember? Old relationships and how they turned out, or what they didn't do, or ones that have been there for a long time, or things that are just popping up for you. It's just to help you evaluate and process that and heal, obviously. As it goes into Virgo, from around September 23rd on to October 2nd, you might find that motivation to bring in, incorporate, or get behind some healthy habits relating to your health and well-being for that balance. It also helps you align with what is right for you. Remember, Virgo is independence and feeling that whole completeness that we talked about last week. So Mercury ends on October 2nd. That's a reminder, but it won't be back until, we won't really feel the energy and the strength moving forward till around October 16, just so you know. So it goes back direct on October 2nd, and then it just will keep increasing. And then you should be good by the middle of October, feeling like it's moving forward again. The next one will be December 29. So pay attention there. And don't forget to jot down dreams. Jot down the dreams. Now, that's the overview. So let me go over and say hello to everyone, see how everybody's doing over in chat. Hello, guys. So, hi, Belinda, Journey to Becoming Me. Maddie, good morning. Pamela, hi. Let's see. And Aunt Karen. Okay, I know that's new. Let's see. How's everybody doing? Maddie's saying she's been calling on Archangel Gabriel a lot recently to help pull herself out there before all this retrograde energy, so I don't hold myself back anymore. Would love to hear any messages on that. You know, let's see what time is this. So, all right, let me reread that again. Have been calling on Archangel Gabriel a lot recently to help me put myself out there. Oh, put yourself out there before all of this retrograde energy, so I don't hold myself back anymore. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I hear you. You're trying to, the way I'm reading that is it sounds like you're trying to get things done before it starts. I think that if you just let it flow naturally and what unfolds, so you might get some of it and some of it's going to be held because you might want to review it more. But Gabriel is perfect for you to be working with, absolutely. But also remember to listen to what feels like, yes, if you still feel a slight holdback in some areas, this is a practice for you, because especially if you come, and this is for anyone that felt like they were always holding themselves back, and they've been trying to go forward. And then you get this, right? This situation where, okay, I'm ready to not hold myself back anymore, but now I feel a little hesitant here and there. You might have a little bit of both, okay? I know it's tweaking and fine-tuning which ones to hold back on, which ones not. Because in a retrograde, it's good to reevaluate. So when I immediately asked Gabriel about that, he's like, there'll be a couple of things that you might want to wait on. And he keeps popping up the word or the month November to me. Don't know exactly what. He's just saying November, there'll be a couple of things that need to slow down until November. That's literally what I just heard. So I'm just giving you that without overthinking it. Let me see here. Have discussed, let's see, Pamela, I am learning to allow messages to come through me. I give people the message the way it comes, but I don't even try to make sure the person listens. That's not my business. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I just did that. I read that after I just did. You either trust what you're picking up or you don't. And it's for them to decide whether they want, and sometimes they take it or leave it, you know, and that's exactly true. So if this is something that you're in that industry or you do this, I don't answer anything unless I'm asked. I kind of go with the way the angels work. They don't help us unless we ask. So I don't go there unless somebody asks me. And then I give them what I'm getting, and they can take it or leave it, and I don't have to convince them of it. But what I find as you grow confident and you trust your intuition more, and this is for everyone, so I'm glad Pamela brought it up, is it doesn't matter whether they trust it or not. You want to stand strong in what you believe. And as you grow in your confidence, so you don't want it to shake you like, oh, did I do that wrong, or did I do, you know, and yeah, that is what it is. Because messages come when they're supposed to, and they don't when they don't. So there's no controlling. You know, sometimes we feel like there's so much we're trying to control. That's one of the big things that I think is a stumbling block for everyone, whether you do this or don't, is there's nothing to control. Actually, really very little. We can control the choices we make, and pretty much that's about it. And you know, and then if we're trying to control all these other things or other people or convince them, why? You know, what is that doing? Just, it doesn't do anything, you know, because people are either ready or they're not. So there you go. So thanks for bringing that up, Pamela. She says she's discussed different perspectives on the same past events with people this week. I find others feel I'm dismissive when I say they're entitled to that perspective, but that mine remains the same. Yeah, that's another example of what I was just saying. I keep reading these after I say that. I'm reading one at a time without looking to the next one. Belinda would like to get a message for my highest good about my marriage. That one is going to take me right back. Okay, Gabriel, okay, I got a couple things coming in fast. Belinda, so here we go. Ready? Here we go. Gabriel saying that perspective thing will help you with patience. There's a difference of perspective. Everybody's coming from different directions there. And it's a knowing that your perspective is your right and somebody else's is theirs. And we don't have to convince. That's trickier when it's a close relationship because we want them to accept, you know, we want to feel accepted. At the same time, I'm also picking up from Michael. Thank you, Michael. He decided to step in. Michael is saying, you control you, and you don't have to convince anybody. You can just go, okay, and it's like getting used to someone feeling different about the same topic. Because believe it or not, there's lots of relationships that come from two completely different things, but they figured out how to do that. This sounds like a misfire of everybody's on two different pages and there's a frustration. And when you let go of trying to convince somebody else about it, it gives you a freedom. And then that doesn't necessarily mean things will get better or worse. It just means you will free yourself of that stress of trying to fix it. That's what I keep picking up. I keep picking up that there's nothing to fix. It's more of a letting it flow. That was interesting. And I don't need to know the details, and you know, that's to keep your privacy, Belinda, but I wanted to make sure you knew that that's literally how it came in. There's nothing to fix. And more of going with a flow and looking for those perspectives to help you have more patience. And at the same time, there is no fixing somebody else. One of the hardest things I find to accept for people, for even myself, I've seen that too, is, you know, people close to us, we want them to understand and accept, but at the same time, there's nothing to prove. There's nothing, it's more of accepting that we're different. And it's okay to have different opinions about things. That takes a little bit of a learning curve at times, and then at other times it's more difficult, and other times it's great. So that's it. It's like there's nothing to fix is the main theme I keep getting, and I'm asking again to just make sure I got that through to you with clarity. That's what I'm picking up. This retrograde will help you find ways to expand awareness in that situation. I'm not getting a yay or nay, the relationship's going to get better or worse. I'm getting a way to, is there something with the communications that's glitchy, so to speak, and this is going to help that. I know you can't do anything about somebody else that doesn't want to do anything else. That's up to them. But that's where I'm getting that. Okay. Let's see, Journey to Becoming Me. Hi, Dr. Jenn. I'm feeling a lot of hugs like I'm coming back home. That's awesome. And my physical location has not changed. Almost feels like fragments of me are piecing back together. Any guidance to this? Yes, I can give you quite a bit on that. And that's an awesome feeling. You've been doing a lot of healing over the last I want to say 10 to 12 months. It started off, if you look back that far back, you go, whoa. And then you look at where you are now. What will happen with really difficult events, and this would be something that had happened in the past, really tough ones, it's easier explained from a shamanic point of view. We have, in trauma, sometimes there's these pieces that of the soul that fragment off. I've actually worked, when I had an office and I was working with people coming in for healing, that we would see this and we would work with this. That when somebody's gone through something traumatic or really tough, there'll be pieces that just, so much of that for that soul to deal with, it'll fragment off. And like I said, this is a shamanic perspective to explain what I'm trying to say. So there's these pieces, they just kind of shatter and they just leave, okay? As we heal, they feel safe, and we start to bring these pieces that fragmented off back. And it's beautiful because it does feel kind of like a hug, and it does feel like, ooh, I feel a little bit more, you know, back together again. So it is literally, that's a way to visually explain it, a kind of a visualization of what happens. It's like, I just can't deal with that, whether it's grief or whether it's trauma, whether it's, you know, anything. We heal. As we heal, these pieces feel safe enough to come back. And that's part of something that shamans do, or energy healing. I have experienced that with energy healing with people, where we've brought these pieces back. We've even had pieces that were in the auric field that they were wobbling off to the side, and we would bring them back in just to balance and get the energy back, you know, back in. But here's the thing, we're just facilitating, helping that person with energy healing. The healer, we're called healers, but we're really more facilitators. We're not doing that. We're bringing an environment together. We're working with, you know, higher dimensions and healing that way, in this energy, but we're bringing this together for the person themselves to bring those pieces back and to heal and to do that clearing. So you can't, like, I can't just go in and like, oh, I'm going to bring all these pieces back for you. That's not the way it works when I'm doing healing. I'm bringing it together to where they feel safe enough to bring that back and incorporate that as back as part of them. That is literally what I immediately felt when I was reading what you said. So you keep going, because that's actually very beautiful that you are bringing these pieces back. And that's why it feels like a beautiful hug, because it's your soul, it's you coming back together. So that's amazing. Let me see here. Okay, I read that one. Angels are with you. You are obviously working with them quite a bit. So just keep going, because that's really beautiful to read for you. Pamela, I get down on myself and then I have to ask for help. I say out loud, please take this from me, my beloved spiritual entourage, and my mind calms. I know they are there to help, best friends forever. Yes, and you always... What's nice is you don't feel alone. You know, I mean, honestly, I mean, you're never alone. And sometimes you can be with all these people and feel completely alone because they don't understand. I know. But then you can be completely alone and not feel alone. And it's amazing what support they give. So I love that was reminded to everyone. So Aunt Karen, maybe now others will get it. I had stalkers and so changed my name. Gotcha. This energy has been in my life for over 5 years and hoping for more understanding about self-care boundaries. Yeah. Okay. So, yep. Okay. And I assume that you know about your boundaries and you know how to do that. So, I mean, when I feel because I'm empathic with my abilities, you know, that can sometimes be a magnet for stuff. And when I feel that, okay, the energy is just wearing me out, that's immediately where I'll put up a boundary. And sometimes it seems so strange and odd to people, But if I've been around some heavy draining energy, or and I just feel like I'm out of calibration, that's it. That's it. I have started to do that. So I have to stop and I go, no, I need to get myself back in alignment, because I can't be here for you if I'm not in the way I should be. If I need self-care, I have to do that first. So that happens at times, I found that I put those intentions out with the angels to put those boundaries up. If I feel energy, creeping in that shouldn't be in my space, I put those energy shields up, and they work every time. I've never had them not fault me, and angels have actually taught me, Michael has taught me so much with that. So I commend you, and good for you. You keep going, because to not attract that energy, sometimes you feel like, wow, okay, do I ever stop attracting it? And yes, but the boundaries are the way to do it, because sometimes our boundaries are when you come into the world and you just want to help everybody, sometimes it's just such an open door that people take advantage, or energies that have bad intentions take advantage. So that's where your boundaries are super important in the self-care. So Virgo energy is really, really good for you, and good for you. You keep going. So yeah, you will get it. So sometimes the self-care boundaries can feel weird at the beginning, just to remind everybody. It's sometimes saying no, and it feels really hard to say no sometimes. You feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I don't want to, or I don't really want to, sometimes we just have to practice that. I have a visualization, and this is a good time to do it for everybody. Let's do that. Let's do that. Right now, let me give you a visualization of a boundary check, and to solidify it. Because especially when you're feeling cluttered in Mercury retrograde energy, you can feel like, wait, I can't think. I got all this stuff going all over the place. Well, this can help reduce some of that scattered energy that's flowing through from everybody and everything else going on in the world. And some of you are familiar with it, but if you were to just stop and go, okay, I'm going to clear myself, my home, my property, my car, my workspace, whatever, all of the above. It doesn't matter whether other people are in and out of these spaces. You're clearing the energy for you and that boundary. And I literally have Michael help me with that. We do all of this amazing, anything clearing that's causing this drain, anything that's not helping me. It doesn't matter. Other people will flow in and out of this, and it doesn't affect them. It doesn't matter. It's affecting you, and it doesn't have to have a name on it. It doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to be a thing. It's more taking all the names and all the details out and just going, whatever the energy is that's causing this for me, or if there's anything there, please help me clear it out. And seal it up. I visualize sealing it up and putting reflective mirrors on the outside, and whatever energy's coming in that's trying to harm, pull it out. Help me to say no where I need to say no. Help me to say, stand up for myself. Help me to not self-doubt. Things like that. Whatever you've got to do. Sometimes you have to do it a few times. But I'm just going over these things that can really be powerful. When I do a clearing of my home, I do all the way to the property lines, and way up to the clouds, and way below the earth. I do that for my shielding. I do the car. I go beyond the car. I don't try to push somebody out of their parking spot, so to speak, but I tested this one time on a beach. We were hanging out on a beach, and it was a 4th of July, so it was getting pretty crowded. This was several years ago. And I don't smoke. I'm very sensitive to smoke. It really affects me. So there was people smoking. They were outside. They were within their right, but it was like blowing. And I'm like, all right, let me just see if I can put up a boundary just to keep the smoke from affecting me. Because it wasn't like, get away from me with that. I just don't want to breathe it. So I closed my eyes. And there was people all around us. So I closed my eyes for about 10 minutes, and I just did this boundary around us, so we weren't affected by their choices. It was the strangest thing. I wasn't expecting this. I opened my eyes, and all the blankets had picked up and moved somewhere else, so they left. I wasn't trying to kick them out of the space. That's just how it ended up. That doesn't always happen that way. It's happened, you know, like if you're at a restaurant and there's something going on beside you, you can actually, if there's a conversation you would prefer not to hear, you can put, I visualize a bell so I don't have to hear it, so it doesn't affect me. Things like that. So we're not really attacking anyone. We're just quieting the energy space around ourselves. But I've noticed that when I do that, I've cleared my furniture, like an area that maybe it's an area that's energy for me, like my meditation space, before lots of people are over or something, and nobody will sit there. And I'm thinking, I'm not trying to keep anybody from it. I'm not really intentionally doing that. It's more. Yeah, and then if I don't, sometimes being empathic, it seems like everybody wants to be there in that same spot. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And then I'll, you know, and if that happens, it's like, okay, I just clear it after. So these are different examples of how you can clear your space. You can also clear your internet presence. You can shield and boundary that. It's energy. Energy can be on the internet, on your website. It can be in your business, your practice. It can be in your socials. You can do that. But do we ever think to do it that way? You can take that as far as you want and just shield and clear it. So I wanted to put that out there for everybody, just as a quick refresher and just a list of different things, because we can all use it, especially if you do this. If I work with energy all the time, so I have to constantly clear it. And I have to do it continuously. And it's not that means there's something wrong. And a lot of empaths get worn out by that. They're exhausted. It's just coming in but not going off. And a lot of times we feel like we have to fix it. We have to help. We have to do. And we're really not here to get in the way of somebody else's journey. We're here to live and be our truth. Maybe more of a mindset of living by example versus trying to tell somebody or try to control it. There's nothing to control except ourselves. And not everybody's going to go for it, because this is a world where you can pick where you want to be. And once we really wrap our brains around that and accept that part, life is going to feel freer. Things will happen, but you can respond different. So the whole goal of being here is to improve that continually. So if you have anything challenging, clearing space every day is a good idea, especially if it feels really heavy. Some people, when they're going through really big stuff, clear it every 12 hours, twice a day. That kind of reminds me of first thing when you get up and then before you go to sleep, just clear, protect, shield up. And it doesn't mean you're trying to be afraid of everything. You're just trying to keep a lot of extra distractions and influences that affect you negatively out of your energy space. So you can be with your energy, listening to your inner voice. That alone gets rid of so much of the scattered mindset and overwhelm. It's amazing. Sometimes we got to do it after we get home from work. Sometimes we have to do it before we even start the day. Do it as much as you need to. Just take a minute and do it. Just close your eyes and put that intention and have that conversation and that relationship with the angels, and they will help you, and you won't be by yourself. They're not going to come do it for you. They're going to do it with you. They're going to bring their energy to you. You're going to work with that energy. It's very empowering. So I hope that some of those tips will help everyone. I hope that you will find that this is a good opportunity with Mercury Retrograde to look for that silver lining on what we could do better with communications in our life, bigger picture perspectives, and awareness moving forward. I hope that Archangel Gabriel will be a joy for you, and I know he will. Gabriel is a very lighthearted, I love Gabriel's energy. It always brings like this joyful lightheartedness, and it's like, yeah, no, if y'all looked at it this way, you might see, and it just is always that way when I work with him, and I enjoy working with Gabriel. I ask Gabriel to help me every week to do this show, because what am I doing? I am trying to communicate a message to you. I'm not trying to prescript anything. I'm not going to prescript what the angels are bringing to me in the moment. There's nothing to prescript. I have a topic, I have a focus, and I have an intention, and I've asked Gabriel to be here. I thanked him before we went on the air. Thank you for being here with this show. I'm looking forward to the show together. And the wonderful things that can come from it, just being in the moment and letting it flow the way it's going to flow, to me is the real deal. And that's what I want to bring you every week. So guys, thank you so much for being here. We are out of time, so I'm going to let you guys go. And I will see you next time here on the Jenn Royster Show. Namaste.
You've been listening to the Jenn Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life. Dr. Jenn Royster is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Imagine having the ability to use your innate positive energy to dissolve the stuckness in your life, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual, through this incredible dynamic show. If you've missed any part of this show or any other show, visit www.jennroyster.com.